Welcome to Aging with Dignity. I'm your host, Bersha. Today we're going to speak with Charlie Pechousek. He is navigating a caregiving journey that many families quietly recognize, but rarely talk about in full. His parents, both still living, are now in two separate living arrangements after a major transition that included selling the family home and rethinking what care, safety, and independence look like in real time. It's a story shaped by difficult decisions, practical constraints, and emotional trade-offs that don't come with clear answers. Charlie is also balancing this responsibility largely on his own, with limited involvement from his sibling, while working and managing the ongoing demands of daily life. And of course, layered underneath it all is the experience of a Czech immigrant family, where questions of duty, expectation, and responsibility often run deeper than what's spoken out loud. This is a conversation about what it really means to care for aging parents when there's no perfect plan, only evolving decisions and the weight of showing up again and again in ways that reshape both family and self. Let's begin. Welcome, Charlie. Let's start by grounding us in your story. So would you share a little bit about your family background, when your parents came to Canada, what those early years were like for them as Czech immigrants building their life here in Montreal, and the kind of family support you grew up with? Do you have, your relationship with siblings, extended family in the area, and so on?
Well, we came to Canada in wow, it was 69, I think. And so it's been like over 50 years. And yeah, we came with pretty much nothing. Came as we immigrated from the Czech Republic, which was going communist at the time. So we ran away with nothing in the pockets. And yeah, my dad finally he got a job. He got a job in the machine shop, and then after some time, he opened up his own machine shop. He ran that successfully, and then he retired. It was 15 years ago, 20 years ago. I can't even remember how far back that was. And I've been running it ever since. As far as family, it's just regular. Well, not Canadian family, but regular European type family. Very strict, demanding, but loving, and yeah, it was a normal upbringing.
Do you have brothers or sisters?
I have one brother, a few years younger than me.
So can you take us back? I know it's your the life really changed with both of your parents. Can you take me back to when you started to really see that things were changing with them? What were the early signs that you might have had that things are about to change?
Yeah, in retrospect, now I can see that it started way before than when I actually noticed it. It started just around COVID, but I didn't notice it until about 2.5 years ago. So there's 2.5 years where, I just wrote it off as, just old age memory lapse. And it really was not. It was dementia at the time. And it got pretty bad by the time I realized that my mom had dementia. That was tough.
There's a couple of things at play there. First of all, like you said, hindsight's 2020. Right? So we kind of look back and say, oh, now that makes sense. But also COVID threw everything off. We weren't connecting as much. We certainly weren't in person as much. So you don't notice the things until you spend more time and you start to notice those lapses. I know I certainly from my own personal journey, that was the case. Was there something that in your mother's health that forced you to take a decision? I think your parents are living separately. Can you talk about how that came about? Your mother's in a residence, I think, and your father is staying in the family home.
My mom's in a residence for the nursing care and stuff like that. And my dad's in he's just in a retirement home. They're right next door to each other, but they're in completely different buildings.
So how did you navigate that decision? Because that couldn't have happened overnight. It took you a couple of years to realize And then your mom probably got a diagnosis, I presume, for dementia.
No, it was actually pretty quick. By the time it was around, it was like early spring, I want to say, and my dad wiped out in the bathroom big time, and he couldn't get up, and it was really really bad. Like we had to call an ambulance, the fire department to lift him into the ambulance and the whole bit. And then at that time, uh, I stayed with my mom. Um, I moved in with my mom to live with her, and that's when I noticed, like, yeah, it's like there's something like not right there.
Right.
And then, yeah, that was really bad. And then, like, from that point to, I mean, there's a whole lot of, we'll probably get into that one, everything that happened, but it was maybe 4 months from when I said, when I realized that there was something wrong with mom to when I put her into a residence. Yeah, and it was not pretty.
So you were dealing with both of your parents at the same time. Your father taking a fall, your mother. You realize now what your mother is going through. That there's that practical side of it, but there's the whole emotional and cultural aspect of having to give the care. Can you just explain a little bit? How did you come to that decision to move your mother out of the home, out of the family home?
Oh, it was just to protect my own sanity. I was at my wits' end.
Okay.
I was, and everybody kept telling me, you need to put her into a home, put her into a home. But my mom was like, she still realized sort of what was going on, and yet was like completely mixed up. Whereas now she's much more stably mixed up, if I can put it that way. Um, Before she was very defiant. Now she listens to me, but before she was very defiant. And and then what happened? I had had enough, and I went to, by mistake, I took her to the Douglas Hospital, and I show up there, and they go, well, and they said, what do you want us to do with her? I said, man, like, check her out. There's something wrong with my mom. And they said, well, we're psychiatric. Like, how do you know it's psychiatric? How do you know it's not physical? I said, I don't know. And they said, well, she has to get checked out at the hospital. So then I called an ambulance to take her to the hospital. And then, yeah, they had to take her kicking and screaming to the hospital. And she never came home after that.
Okay, so from the diagnosis, it went to a residence. Okay.
Yeah, it was like they diagnosed her as with vascular dementia, and they said, okay, we can, she can go home now. Actually, no, I did take her home for a little bit, and then I was working with the um oh, what are they called? Well, the government sends in like workers to help you around the house,
Oh,
the
like the
CLSC.
CLSC. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, CLSC. But that didn't work out because my mom was in conspiracy theory mode, and everybody was out to murder her, and it was, oh my god, it was a living hell. So no matter who came to the door, my mom would scream at them and check, until, and I'd have to turn them away because there was no way anybody could take care of my mom unless I was there. And then if I was there, I might as well do it. So it's like, yeah.
What you're describing is fairly common, by the way, right? We just don't know it until we either hear it from other caregivers or we see other families going through it. Someone has to say this is normal, right? The anxiety, the anger, the change of personality in many ways too, right? And as an adult child, that's all foreign to us in terms of what we know our parents to be. So it is a tough part of the journey. So now your mother's in a residence and your father was at that time staying in the family home. How did you come to the decision that your father needed to move to a residence?
Oh, it was like 3,000 square foot house. There was no way he was taking care of it. So we did, we just decided he didn't need the house, so we just sold the house, and the proceeds from the house just paying for the residence. It actually just it works out clean.
Was your father part of that decision, or did you make it for him?
At the time, so he went to the hospital twice, and once he almost died, like in the hospital. And so at that point, he had given up on living actually, uh, but I told him that oh, I need him to take care of mom, you know. So he goes, okay, okay. Finally decided, that life was still worth living a bit longer, and then he was the opposite dad. While when I was growing up, he was like, uh, you know, uh, I'm the king of the family. You have to listen to me. And now it's like, now I'm the king of the family. Like I go, where do you want to go for lunch? And he goes, whatever you want is good with me. it, it's actually both ways are frustrating. It's like I just want to have a conversation with you.
Yeah,
And it's actually like now we're bonding better now than I have in the last 60 years.
that's a beautiful outcome.
Well, it's a kind of a shame because I missed out on 60 years of bonding.
But at least you're getting it now. It could have gone a
At least
different
I'm
way.
getting it now. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So you mentioned you have a younger brother. I do know that in many families, when we start to care for our older adults or our parents, um, oftentimes a lot of the responsibilities fall heavily on one person, if not exclusively on one. Can you talk about the family dynamics? Do you share all of the care between yourselves? Is it on one person more than another? And how has that shaped your relationship with your brother?
um, mm. the the relationship with my brother and I has definitely changed. We used to be quite close, and I don't mind the responsibility of caring for my folks and stuff like that. Like also, scheduling the doctor's visits, going with them to the doctor, and paying their bills and stuff like that. But he just doesn't. What strains our relationship is his not visiting. Which so I have to do all the visiting as well, and listen to all the, oh, I haven't seen my grandkids for such a long time, and it breaks my heart. It breaks my parents' heart, and yeah, I resent them for it. So our personal relationship has suffered.
I was just about to use the same word. I know that must lead to a certain level of resentment, and hopefully, you can find a way to making peace within that dynamic. You're doing everything, from what I can hear, for your parents to keep them comfortable, living as
Yeah.
good a quality life as they can,
Well,
and
with a
you're
lot of
coming
help.
away with a lot of help, but you're coming away with some beautiful experiences as well. You're like you shared about you and your father. You are finding that you're able to enjoy the time together now, which you wouldn't have done if you weren't spending this kind of time. All I can say is that I hope your brother and family find a way to come forward in a meaningful way, because unfortunately, once the loved one is gone, we can't do anything about the missed opportunities. Right, the time is gone, and the only one that
Yeah.
lives to regret that is the one who didn't show up. So you should um, take heart in the fact that you found this new relationship with your dad. Um,
Yeah.
what does support look like for you? Because you mentioned that you're running a business, you've got a full time life, professional life as well. What does
Yeah.
support for you look
I
like?
would just like to add one thing about, like, with my brother and I. It was stressing me out, like let's say when I put my mom into a home, which is like almost 2.5 years, almost coming on to 3 years pretty soon. The first year and a half or something, it stressed me. My brother stressed me out. Like I kept begging him to visit, and now I've just decided, you know, it's not my problem. All I can do is the best that I can, and he's gonna have to live with that. Maybe later on down the line, maybe he won't live with it, but I know I can live with myself that I've done the best that I could. Uh,
Very, very well said, Charlie. And I think, we each have to
and I
come.
forgot the last question.
No, that's okay. But I think we have to find peace at some point with our choices. Each of us.
Yeah, I'd be going crazy. Like
Yeah.
I don't need more stress. I'm already stressed up to here.
So that's where I was. That was my last question to you. So, what does support for you look like? How are you getting it?
Support. I'm getting it from other members of my family that I work with, and it's the support comes in a lot of different ways. Like I'll get to number one later on, but comments from my friends and other family members um, praising me what a good son I am and what a good job I'm doing, and I'm just trying to do my best. I don't see myself in that role, but it does alleviate um, the stress kind of thing, because I was never the good. I was definitely the black sheep of the family, and
There's something about at least I can speak for myself. I don't know about for you. Um, when those comments come about, "Oh, you're such a good son," or "You're such a good daughter," sure, it's nice. It's a little pat on the back. It doesn't alleviate what you're going through. But the key thing for me was when it was said by the people that I needed to hear it from. It made me feel seen. It made me
yeah,
feel
yeah,
like, okay, it's being acknowledged. We don't need the pats on the back. We don't need the applause. But to know that you're being seen, that makes a difference. For me, it helped me
yeah.
shoulder a lot of what was going on.
I think that's much better, much better said. Yes.
So you said you're going
Yeah.
to come back to number one. What was number one on where you get your
So
support?
number one, like, I don't know what I would have done without Helen. So it's
Yeah.
um,
So Helen has been on our podcast talking about her helping families navigate out of homes into residences and all of the decisions that
yeah.
get taken along the way. She's wonderful in what she does. I'm glad you brought her up. So you worked with Helen through the transition for your
Yeah,
father, I presume
she
then.
was introduced to me by my cousin, um, and I was sort of skeptical at the beginning, but it turned out that she was a godsend. She took so much of the administrative work and stuff like that, like looking for places to go and making doctor's appointments and sending forms here, sending forms there, and like yeah, it left me time to actually go to work, because otherwise taking care of my parents is a full-time job, or what, not as much so anymore, but I mean it's still a big job, but I have time to go to work. Like I was off work for 3 4 months.
Yeah. Helen's role is quite interesting because if people can tap into that kind of a resource, finding someone to navigate for us, it, like you said, takes such a burden off and allows you to get on with a little bit of your own life, be more present for your parents or whoever we're taking care of. And Helen, in that capacity, is able to move the administrative side, the medical side forward on your behalf. So that she's a wonderful resource.
Yeah. And she has so much experience. She knows who to contact. She go, oh, I know this person and that person, and she just like bing, 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 and it's like, whatever you need to do is kind of done. I mean, there's still work involved. I still have to go to the appointments, and but mostly it's like just seeing my dad, making sure he's okay, and stuff like that.
So I'd like to touch on culture a little bit. Coming from a Czech immigrant background, was there an unspoken expectation about who would care for your parents or what that would look like going forward?
Oh man, like no. This is like growing up until that point, I always just thought, well, we had talked actually quite a long time ago about when um when they were in the house and they were getting older, especially when my dad retired. we said, we always said, well, why don't you just downsize? Like get yourself a nice condo. Why do you need a big house? And they never, they said, oh yeah, that's a good idea, but they never did. And but I never thought that dementia never crossed my mind. Like it was always, when they can't take care of the house, they would just move into a condo together, and that would be it. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah. What you're saying, it's interesting because I'm finding that most first generation immigrants in this country are sharing that same story. Um, our parents, as first generation immigrants, most likely did not participate in the aging and elder care of their parents. They probably did not even participate in the final stages. I know I can speak for my side. My parents, when their parents passed away, they couldn't take off on a plane to go to India for months at a time. It was basically a phone call or a telegram that came, and really their participation was, "Hey, I'll send money home to help with the
Yeah.
costs." So they didn't see the things that happen as they age, so they never thought about it for themselves here, right? So you too, you never thought about what'll happen when you're well, forget about dementia, but just beyond simple aging, we don't think about what's going to happen. I think now, I can speak for myself. I'd be interested in you. I'm certainly looking at my life now and saying, okay, wait a minute. I've just been through this cycle with my parents. What is my end of life going to be like? And who am I putting a burden on? And how can I alleviate that? So already I'm thinking about things that I know my parents never thought about because it wasn't something they ever encountered. And I think the more and more first, second generation immigrants that I'm speaking with, they're all saying a very, very similar theme.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, yeah. Because my parents, um, I mean, they went to the funerals, but yeah, they didn't. Other than sending a check home once a month, they yeah, that's the only support they really gave. You know.
Yeah. Growing up here in Quebec, so you were either born here or came over quite young. Um,
I came when I was like 7 years old.
yeah, so that's young. So do you ever feel caught between two worlds, the Czech world and the Montreal, Quebec world or Canadian world?
No, no, no. I mean, it becomes a problem when Canada plays the Czech Republic in a hockey playoff. I'm not sure
Support?
who to cheer for. I'm happy with when either country wins,
Very
but
good.
um, I mean, I don't know. I consider myself Czech and I consider myself Canadian, and I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with it. Maybe at the beginning there were certain traditions, but I
Yeah.
remember the strictness and talking to my other European friends. Um, yeah, that's a big old school European thing, like really strict.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, Charlie, if you're honest, what was the hardest part of this journey so far?
The hardest part was putting my mom into a home. Not my dad. My dad, like, I managed to, like, I talked to him about it, right? And I said, like, we think this is the best thing for you. And, like, he realized he can't take care of a huge house, you know? But I had to trick my mom to going into a home, and it was devastating to me. Yeah.
How have you made peace with that?
I made peace with that by just, it was her or me. So, and if I was if it would have killed me, then I wouldn't be around to take care of her. So, uh, and people warned me about that. I didn't listen to it, and it's true. It's like you can't do this alone. And it came a time when it was the last straw, and I mean I would go to bed crying at night, and and finally I just realized that yeah, I can't do it. It's time, and it took months, but yeah, I came to that realization.
Yeah, unfortunately, we all figure that out a bit too late, right? We go through everything and then we
Well,
realize,
it wasn't too late. Too late would be you wouldn't be talking to me if it was too
well,
late.
that's different. That's different. But we go through the pains and then we realize we need to make time for ourselves. We need to make space for ourselves, for our own health and our continued life. You're also in a smaller bracket in that you are a male caregiver. It's more predominant to find the daughter or the daughter-in-laws stepping in and taking that role. So you are also in the minority there. When it comes to giving support as a community, we don't think about the men that are doing that are carrying that baton for their parents. So on behalf of the community, I thank you for stepping up for that too.
Well, but at the same time, my mom didn't have any daughters, so you know, someone's got to step up.
Someone's got to step up, 100%. Charlie, if as a final reflection, if somebody is starting this journey with their own parents and they're feeling alone, what would you want them to understand about what you've gone through and had to learn the hard way?
Wow. I guess it depends, on the journey, or the parents, because dementia played like a humongous role in that. Like if there were just two aging people who had their um, full wits about them, and able to comprehend just
Mm.
reason, that's one thing. That's a lot easier. Once it starts becoming like dementia, like it multiplies everything by 10. Like it's unbelievable. Um, what I want people to take away is, um, you have to take care of yourself. If I'm not taking care of and I keep falling into this trap every once in a while as well, and I fall into a depression when I see that I'm like can't sleep at night because of like some stress and stuff like that. I take time for myself. I make myself take a weekend or a day or something and just do something for myself, and that changes my whole mental aspect of it, and then I can come back and take care of my folks. But yeah, if I don't take care of myself first, there's no way I can take care of them.
That is fantastic advice. I thank you for that. Charlie, thank you for joining us on Aging with Dignity and bringing your story. Others listening in will get so much from understanding and hearing the experiences that you've lived. So I thank you for coming and sharing the story with us today.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to do it.
What we've heard from Charlie is not a neat caregiving story with clear resolutions. It's something far more familiar to families, a series of difficult, evolving decisions made in real time, often without perfect agreement, and almost never without emotional cost. There's the practical reality of care, housing transitions, safety, independence, and the systems that shape what is possible in Quebec. But underneath that is something deeper, the quiet weight of responsibility carried largely by one person, the complexity of sibling dynamics when involvement is uneven, and the way cultural background can shape what we feel we should do, even when the path forward is unclear. Charlie's journey is still unfolding. His parents are still here, still adapting to new realities, and so is he. And that's perhaps the most important part of this conversation. Caregiving is rarely a finished chapter. It's ongoing, it shifts, and it asks for patience, not just with our parents, but with ourselves. For anyone walking a similar path, the takeaway may not be answers, but recognition. Share those feelings of isolation. It lifts a weight off. Speak with other caregivers. What feels uncertain is often normal. And give yourself grace in knowing that showing up, even imperfectly, is its own form of care. At Aging with Dignity, this is exactly why these conversations matter to us. Sharing these lived experiences helps ensure that when moving through caregiving, no one has to feel like they're carrying it in isolation. As always, I ask if this episode sparked something for you. Please share it with your family, your friends, or anyone you care about. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the podcast if you're enjoying what you hear. And thanks for listening in and sharing your time with me. Please join me each week for new insights into aging with dignity. Until next time, reminding us all to age gracefully and live vibrantly. Everything you've heard today, just real talk. It's just our personal stories, experiences, and honest opinions. This podcast isn't providing legal, medical, financial, or therapeutic advice. And no, listening doesn't make me or my guests your lawyer, doctor, financial advisor, or therapist. The guests and I are here to share stories, spark ideas, and hopefully give you something to think about. When it comes to the big decisions, make sure you do your homework or check in with the experts who know your situation best. We're here to keep the conversation going. You're the one in the driver's seat.